The famous Spanish writer-philosopher George Santayana once said, "Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it." From the 11th century CE, the advent of Turkic invaders and slaves would bring about a seismic shift with regards to the socio-political landscape in medieval India. Old dynasties, which were ruling from centuries, would gather dust, and powerful foreigners would go on to rule the landmass right from the Indus to the Ganga. In the initial years, the Vindhyas would act as a great wall for South India against this barbaric onslaught, but sadly, luck would not last for long. In the late 13th century CE, a significant power play between Alauddin Khilji and his uncle Sultan Jalaluddin would break the barrier of the Vindhyas and bring the advent of the invaders right into the heart of India. And the Yadava kingdom of Devagiri would be the bank that would fund the usurpation of the throne by this shrewd but sneaky nephew. Once the Sultan, Alauddin's subsequent raids using his most favorite general and lover, Hajar Dinari, who is more commonly known as Malik Kafur, would bring the whole of southern India, right from the Yadavas, the Kakatiyas at Warangal, the Hoysalas at Dwarasamudra, and the Pandyas at Madurai, all to their knees. All this in a space of 2 years from 1309 CE to 1311 CE. The Persian historian Ferishta writes, in AD 1309, that indomitable general invaded Warangal, which was then under the Hindu Raja Prataparudra Deva by way of Devagiri. In the next year, he marched against Dwarasamudra, the seat of the Hoysalas, and Mabar, that is the west coast, and took Ballal Deva, the Raya of the Carnatic, prisoner. All this barbarism and the defiling of temples by Kafur would accomplish his Sultan 312 elephants, 20,000 horses, 96,000 man-weights of gold, around 11,000 tons in today's parlance, and for this plunder, which historians have estimated to be worth around 100 million pounds in 1900s money, the Sultan of Delhi would bestow upon Kafur the love and make him the governor of Devagiri. When Alauddin died in 1316 CE after a brief illness, another power play would besiege the Khilji rule, and by 1320 CE, a new dynasty would start under the former general of the Khilji army, Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. His son, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, the wise fool as he was called, and the consequences of his actions, particularly in the Deccan, would give rise to a tremendous uprising to form not just the Vijayanagar Empire but also the Muslim Bahmani Sultanate. Muhammad's actions were actually inexplicable even to contemporary historians. Most put it at the need to enforce orthodox Islamic observance and practice, spread jihad as al-mujahid fi sabilillah, that is, the warrior for the path of God, under the influence of a Syrian religious scholar Ibn Taymiyyah. Others just put it at plain insanity. His taxes, his revenue collection system, jizya and dhimmi taxes, and severely devaluation of the currency, coupled with his foolhardy decision to shift his capital to Devagiri along with all the inhabitants of Delhi, and the subsequent reversal of the decision, would give rise to massive uprising and revolt all over his territories. Muhammad tried to quell one such revolt against his own cousin Bahauddin, who had rebelled, by sending his army against him. Bahauddin by then had fled to Kampila, ruled by a Hindu king who enjoyed good relations with him. This king sent his guest to his overlord, Ballal Deva, at Dwarasamudra. Historian B.A. Salator writes, "It was to the Hindu interest that a bid for independence should be made under cover of a most un-Hindu-like act, sanctioned neither by international usage nor by ancient practice. Veera Ballala delivered the refugee directly into the hands of the army of Muhammad Tughlaq, who flayed him alive. The old Hindu monarch, who had tasted the wrath of the Delhi Sultan about 11 years ago, sacrificed the interests of a royal guest for the cause of his religion and country, and thus the Sultan was made to believe that his southern dominions were still under a spell of tranquility." After 1325 CE, the sovereignty over the south was imperceptibly changing hands. The power of the old royal house of the Hoysalas was waning, and with their blessings, their generals and chieftains were taking the fight against the invaders upon themselves. And a family of 5 brothers, guided by the profound wisdom of 2 great saints, and with the blessings of the Hoysalas themselves, laid the foundations of the mightiest Hindu empire, an empire that would thwart the invaders for more than 2 centuries. The transience of power was so smooth and swift that neither the Sultan nor his minion in Madurai realized of this great danger that would crush their empire for years to come. The ideals which these new rulers set before them was extremely simple, which they themselves put in an inscription, and it says, "In the world, Achyuta was born to Yashoda and Nandagopa and gave them a promise that he would eventually reappear as a king to deliver the world when it was overspread by Mlechas." Accordingly, he was born in the region of Pampapuri to Sangama and his wife Kamambika as Bukka Mahapati. So anyone who tells you that the Janma of the Vijayanagara Empire was just a political matter and that the angle of Hindu dharmic pushback against the rapid Islamization of the Deccan was a colonial construct, please show them this inscription. This completes episode 1, Janma, of the Uncharted India Season 1, Hampi. Stay tuned for the next episode where we discuss the early years and the consolidation of power by the early Vijayanagara kings. Thanks for watching. If you liked our video, do give a thumbs up, comment below your suggestions and questions, and we will try to answer the questions in our fortnightly Q&A video. Follow us on all our social media platforms, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon for instant notification, and please do share the videos with your family and friends.